10 Best Kevin Costner Movies That Aren't Westerns Ranked. Through movies like Silverado, Dances with Wolves, and Open Range, Kevin Costner has cemented his status as one of the best Western stars since the genre began. By the early 90s, he'd become one of the most bankable stars in the industry, headlining several box office hits and cinematic masterpieces. Still working hard in TV and film, with his Horizon franchise being his current passion project, there's no shortage of great Costner movies. As much as his career may have been defined by the Old West, many of his greatest stories were told outside the frontier. From mystery thrillers to controversial superhero films, he has shown that he can be as versatile as charming. With 4 decades of movies to look back on, movie fans are spoiled for choice with great Kevin Costner movies, with his leading roles being his best. Waterworld is Mad Max at sea. Waterworld takes place in a future where Earth has been submerged beneath the oceans after catastrophic climate change melted the ice caps. The last remnants of humanity now live on floating outposts and ships, with resources running scarce and desperation everywhere. Costner plays the role of the Mariner, a mutant amphibious man capable of diving great depths, allowing him to bring back treasures of the old world. When a band of pirates comes looking for a girl who might hold the location of dry land, he becomes her reluctant protector. Best described as Mad Max at sea, Waterworld nails the same chaos and desperation as George Miller's masterpiece, giving the audience a great anti-hero in the Mariner. In its limited runtime, the film does a great job at world building, and despite flopping in the 90s, it has since earned a cult following as more people wake up to its strengths. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, is a fun take on the legend. The tale of Robin Hood has been retold since the golden age of Hollywood, with many gravitating towards its message about equality and resisting oppression. In 1991, Costner stepped into the titular role as Robin of Locksley, who returns to England after being imprisoned in Jerusalem during the Crusades. With an unlikely companion, a Moor named Azim, he seeks to usurp the tyrannical sheriff of Nottingham after he learns of the slaughter of his father. When he's taken in by Big John and his merry men of Sherwood Forest, he begins robbing the rich to give to the poor. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, isn't without its flaws, with Costner's famously terrible accent being a sticking point for many. However, when taken as a fun action-adventure story, it makes for one of the star's more underrated roles, even if the movie is elevated more by Alan Rickman than anyone else. A Perfect World is a unique road trip story. A Perfect World casts Costner in the role of an escaped convict, Butch Haynes, as he and his cellmate take a boy captive in the summer of 1963. After he's forced to kill his companion to keep the boy safe, Butch takes the young Phil on a trip across Texas, hoping to drive all the way to Canada to get away and start a new life. However, with a seasoned Texas Ranger hot on their heels, the fugitive decides to treat his passenger to the time of his life, playing the role of big brother and irresponsible father all at once. A Perfect World stands out as one of Costner's greatest and most underappreciated performances, especially outside his Western career. The film doesn't fit perfectly into any conventional genre, instead simply being a story about one man defined by past mistakes trying to be the father figure to a boy that he wished he'd had. Featuring Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood at their best, it deserves more appreciation. No Way Out is a masterful thriller. No Way Out casts Costner in the role of Tom Farrell, a young naval officer who becomes romantically involved with the Secretary of Defense's mistress. When he murders her in the midst of a jealous rage, her secret lover becomes the suspect, potentially pointing the finger at Farrell. To make matters worse, the investigation soon escalates into a mole hunt, with the officer locked down in the Pentagon as they search for a traitor. No Way Out stands out as one of the greatest Cold War thrillers ever made, boasting an iconic plot twist that made it stand out. Doubling as a murder mystery and a political thriller, it casts Costner opposite Gene Hackman, and their chemistry together on screen alone makes the movie worth watching. JFK plays into the conspiracies. The assassination of President Kennedy has been one of the most persistent sources of conspiracy theories since it occurred in 1963. In 1991, filmmaker Oliver Stone directed his own account of events, using Jim Garrison's investigation as a basis for the theory. Using forensics reports, video footage, and more, he tries to build a case against what he believes to be a conspiracy against Kennedy, targeting Clay Shaw as one of his prime suspects. As Jim Garrison, Kevin Costner gave audiences perhaps his most quotable character, leading the audience through the hidden gunman theory. Although historians have taken issue with the accuracy of Stone's JFK, it still makes for a powerful conspiracy thriller, whether viewers agree with it or not. Along with Costner, the film is a who's who of 90s stars, assembling talents like John Candy, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Oldman, and Kevin Bacon, among others. Bull Durham continued Costner's love of baseball. Bull Durham focuses on an underdog minor league baseball team, the Durham Bulls, as they struggle with their latest losing streak. However, in skilled pitcher Ebby Lawlish, they feel they have a chance at a win if they can help him hone his talents. The team looks to Crash Davis, a veteran catcher, to train him up and refine his pitching. When Annie is thrown into the mix, a woman who has a tradition of short-term flings with Bulls players, she helps Crash shape up Ebby, sparking jealousy between him and Nuke. The movie that launched Costner's many sports-themed movies, Bull Durham, offers audiences a slice of America as it balances romance, sports, and mentorship all at once. One of the best baseball movies ever made, it's an essential part of the actor's career for good reason. Field of Dreams might be better known, but this movie is every bit as good. The Bodyguard blended romance and thriller. The Bodyguard casts Costner in the role of Frank Farmer, a former Secret Service agent now working as an elite bodyguard to the rich and famous. When a threat is made against actress and music star Rachel Marin, she reluctantly hires Farmer to keep her safe. Despite friction between them at first, his role brings him close to her, and it's not long before there's a romance between them. Alongside Dances with Wolves and Field of Dreams, The Bodyguard cemented Costner's status as the face of Americana at the time. As one of the most successful movies of his career, it gave cinema one of. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy was faced with what would soon become the defining moment of his presidency, the Cuban Missile Crisis. At the height of the Cold War, the Russians attempted to match American foreign policy by sending nuclear missiles to be stationed in Cuba, sparking international turmoil. It's these events that form the basis of 13 Days, which takes the audience inside the Kennedy administration at the height of the event. Faced with the Hawks pushing for war and the Doves hesitant to intervene, Kennedy and his inner circle move for the third option, a blockade. 13 Days can claim to be an even better Kennedy movie than JFK, as it focuses on the achievements of the president, rather than the conspiracies and fog surrounding his death. In the film, Costner plays the role of Kenneth O'Donnell, one of JFK's top advisors who, in the film, helps coordinate the administration and acts as a buffer between the strategists and Kennedy himself. Field of Dreams is pure Americana. Field of Dreams follows Costner in the role of Ray Kinsella, a family man and lifelong baseball fan who lives with his wife and daughter on a farm. While thinking of his late father, he hears a voice from his cornfield telling him, "Build it and he will come," sparking a drive in the man to build a baseball field on his land. Despite the risk of financial trouble ahead, he convinces his family to stand by him as his love of baseball becomes a national sensation, bringing with it ghosts of past players. Field of Dreams is, like the best Costner movies, a work of true Americana, speaking to the nation's enduring adoration of baseball. Through Costner's character, the film imparts a message about passion, family, and being true to oneself, a message that has remained wholesome and inspirational for decades. The Untouchables follows the downfall of Al Capone. The Prohibition era of the United States unintentionally birthed an age of ruthless gangsters, with Al Capone emerging as the face of the so-called public enemies period. In Brian De Palma's The Untouchables, the efforts of lawmen like Elliot Ness are brought into focus as the investigator forms a squad of honest cops to dismantle Capone's operations. With a corrupt police force between them and victory, Ness struggles to get the drop on the gangster, leading to a deadly showdown to finally get the evidence needed to put him away. While the movie is far from the most accurate account of the downfall of Al Capone, it does stand out among the greatest crime films ever made. Opposite Sean Connery, Kevin Costner gives a career-best performance in the role of Ness, embodying the upstanding American lawman to a T. Plenty of movies made Costner a star, but The Untouchables made him a legend.